It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey hockey fans, Erica L. Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken here, and I just learned Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of the first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right, everything you earned doubled. All the cash back from buying every single Seattle Kraken home game puck doubled. All the cash back from buying out the Beast Mode line doubled. And the best part, you don't have to do anything ridiculous to get it. Nope, Discover does it automatically. See terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
The Stanley Cup is in the building, baby, and we got a big Game 5 tee-up for Tuesday night. Can the Knights do it finally? We're breaking it all down, including keys to success for Game 5 for both squads. And what is going on in Winnipeg? Scheifele to be dealt. Hellebuyck doesn't want to re-sign, and we know about Pierre-Luc Dubois, but what does it mean for their fantasy impacts? We're going to get to it on today's episode, and let's get right to it.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I am joined by the birthday boy, Mr. Steele Roden, as my co-host. You've seen his work all across YouTube. Check him out under NHL Quick Hits and all across the Locked On Network. You know where to find your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Make sure you check out Dauber Hockey and all my previous work across YouTube. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. I'm fired up for today's episode, Steele. Aside from a little B-Day love for you, I got to talk a little bit about, and we'll get to this right off the top of the show, the Winnipeg Jets. I think you and I have talked a lot about, we don't really know what's been going on behind closed doors in Winnipeg, and now I think it's really starting to all come together. Things aren't smelling right in the water in Winnipeg. We'll talk about all the rumors, most recently and perhaps most importantly, Connor Hellebuyck doesn't want to re-sign. This is the best goalie on the market, Steele. We're going to talk all about that, and we're breaking it down, baby. The cup is in the building. Game 5, can the Knights do it? We got big-time bets. We got keys to success. But I really do want to talk about this Winnipeg situation, Steele, because this isn't peripheral players. No. This is the core. This is also their key to winning. Dubois, their most important and biggest offensive weapon moving forward, in my opinion, given his age. Hellebuyck, other than Vasilevsky, no one's been nominated more for the Vezina than him. This is serious news. What is your takeaway from this situation? And we got to break down, what do you do with Connor Hellebuyck fantasy-wise?
Look, this is all what it's been leading down to this offseason, these three players potentially being on the move. This all started with Paul Maurice, resigning from his position of the Winnipeg Jets head coach halfway through the season. A few months later, or, the next couple months later, Blake Wheeler gets the captaincy restricted from him. Yeah. And then all of these angles just start coming out about toxic personalities in the dressing room. Winnipeg Jets get beaten in 5 games against the Vegas Golden Knights, and Rick Bowness just comes out with the most blunt answer possible, saying there's no pushback from the guys in the dressing room the entire series. So this is what it's been leading towards. And we've kind of known for a while that Pierre-Luc Dubois was most likely on the move. It seemed like he really wanted to not remain in Winnipeg. He, obviously his name's been thrown out there around with the Montreal Canadiens and a few other teams, but mostly the Montreal Canadiens. A little bit shocking with the Connor Hellebuyck news. Didn't think that he would just be as adamant as he was about not resigning and him wanting to move on. But look, the Winnipeg Jets have 3 crucial superstars on their hand that are on the trade market for this offseason, and players that are very hot commodities, both in the NHL and obviously fantasy-wise. Connor Hellebuyck is a top 2 fantasy hockey goalie. He should probably be the first goalie taken off the board in fantasy hockey drafts. He's always a top 3 goaltender at the end of the season for fantasy points. And he's one of those goalies that doesn't seem like anything affects him. He's always playing well. He's always recording shutouts. He's always facing a ton of shots on net. A 920 save percentage, a 2.49 goals against average this past season. He's never had worse than a 2.97 goals against average in a season and a 907 save percentage. So he's one of the best goalies fantasy-wise as well as just general hockey-wise. One of the best goalies in the league right now. And the Winnipeg Jets are going to get a ton of picks, players, prospects in return for all three of Scheifele, Dubois, and Hellebuyck.
I think this is where this situation has got to be headed. So you have Pierre-Luc Dubois on the first hand for what I wanted to just mention in terms of the contract situations that they have to deal with, right? So you have Hellebuyck under contract at 6.1 for one more year, then he becomes an RFA. Pierre-Luc Dubois is a restricted free agent already up for contract this offseason. He's gone. He's not coming back. Maybe they can figure something out with Hellebuyck where they throw a ton of money at this guy and maybe he comes back. I just don't see it, Steele. He doesn't seem like a type of guy that really cares overly too much about being that top paid guy. Like, some players, I know what I'm worth. I want to be the top paid goalie. I want to be the top paid right shot defenseman, whatever it is. For me, and I don't know Connor Hellebuyck personally, he just seems to be that guy. He was also, Steele, sidebar, one of the first goalies of this generation to really dedicate his time off the ice to his body. He was one of the first guys to invest in, the real science end of making sure he is the absolute prototypical physical specimen to man the cage. Total sidebar. What I think happens here, Steele, is what you just said. There's so much value for Connor Hellebuyck. He is the top option out there for teams, and there's going to be GMs lined up around the block to try and get this guy on their squad. And I think you're right. They're going to get a boatload of talent, prospects, picks, whatever they want, because how many teams in the NHL right now, Steele? Cough, Toronto, cough, Ottawa, need a number one goalie? There's 10. There's 10 or 12. So this is a really, really interesting situation that I think comes down to what you also said. These guys are done with Rick Bowness. He came in there, and say what you will about Ricky B, he can get it done. He is a tough coach, and I think he's lost that room in Winnipeg, and they're going to be in real tough next season, Steele.
I'm not sure if he lost the room. I just don't think the room was there in general. Like, everything was just
good
toxic,
point. Okay.
Toxic locker room. It seemed like right from the get. Paul Maurice resigns.
Okay.
Blake Wheeler gets the captaincy.
I respect that take.
I don't think it was Rick Bowness. I just don't think those guys want to be playing in Winnipeg.
I'm high on Ricky B.
We talked about Rick Bowness. We love Rick Bowness as a coach, obviously, when he was with the Dallas Stars, now this last year with the Winnipeg Jets. I think the Winnipeg Jets have 3 to 4 guys, again, who just don't care to play there. They're obviously going to play their best.
Sure.
They're still professional hockey players. They still want to win the Stanley Cup, but do they care to play in Winnipeg? No, they don't. Pierre-Luc Dubois has made that very adamant when he was in Columbus and now in Winnipeg. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to be where he wants to be. Same goes for Connor Hellebuyck. I don't think Connor Hellebuyck is not the goalie that cares about the money. He cares about winning. He wants to be with a winning, contending team right now. And I don't think he sees Winnipeg being that team, especially from their last few runs in the postseason. They're getting bounced in the first round pretty much every single year.
30-year-old goaltender, Steele, who put up 37 wins just last season and had a 920 save percentage, is going to bring you a whole lot back in return, and you don't want this guy walking away for nothing as a UFA after next season. So they got to get something done. And if he's not going to any team except for someone who at least has an outside shot at a cup. Yeah. So his value goes up. I don't care what you want to say about the Winnipeg Jets. They had an okay season. They make the playoffs. His value for me goes up because also I think one of the missteps of Bowness, or maybe he had to do it, 65 games for Connor Hellebuyck is just far too much hockey, and he saw way too much rubber, and that ended up being one of the downfalls for the Jets in the postseason. Will the downfall of the Florida Panthers be Matthew Tkachuk's injury? That's obviously something Steele and I are going to talk about right after the break, along with our big-time bets. Can we make a little bit of money? This might be the last game of the NHL season as well, Steele. So let's have a little general conversation about where we've been and where we're headed. And just like this show, a championship team is built by all the parts. And today's episode is sponsored by eBay Motors. The championship team, making sure every player is the perfect fit is also key. And the same comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, you got to head over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure the parts fit the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back, because just like in sports, and like I said, confidence is the name of the game when you shop at eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a big win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit the first time around on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The NHL playoffs are here, and this one goes out to the goalies, the last line of defense, the ones who can save a game all by themselves. You know who else makes game-changing saves? Discover. They have savings accounts that earn 5 times the national savings average in interest. Could you imagine a goalie with 5 times the saves? Instant Hall of Famer. So start making some game-changing saves for yourself and check out the savings account at Discover. Discover Bank, member FDIC. See terms and learn more at discover.com/savings.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your favorite team from all 4 major sports leagues and including the NCAA, your team every single day. And of course, Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals is tonight back in Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. And remember to tune in for Wednesday's episode with Locked On Rangers host John Chick, joining us to talk everything New York Rangers, their rookies, drafts coming up, as well as future. What's going on with Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko? Maybe a quick re-sign for 1 year. Who knows? John Chick probably does. So make sure you're tuning in for Wednesday's episode. Game 5, though, of the Stanley Cup Finals, Flip.
Yes, sir. One
more win away from hoisting the cup. Vegas Golden Knights, look, we talked about this a lot. Vegas, we've talked about it a lot. The Vegas Golden Knights and Florida Panthers have yet to win a Stanley Cup in their organization or their franchise history. Of course, Vegas only being 6 years old now and 1 win away from winning the cup. There's probably a ton of fans out there. Like I think that's kind of awesome to Vegas win, and I think the parade would be incredible in Vegas as well. But there's got to be a ton of fans out there that just are so mad that Vegas is on the cusp of winning a cup when their team hasn't won a cup in so long.
And you know what, Steele? This is a good angle, and thank you for bringing it up, because I think for a little while, and I think I said to you even off air, I get that sentiment, and I kind of feel it as well, especially coming from the fan base that we know. All the listeners of this show know that we come from first. We're Ontario boys. We love Toronto. We love the Maple Leafs. I know you have allegiances to the Minnesota Wild as well, which is fair. But when you see that success, I get that take. But, shout out to Pierre Lebrun and some of the other broadcasters here in Canada for also bringing up a more important angle of what this Stanley Cup Final means. How many kids are now playing hockey in untraditional markets, Steele? California, Vegas, Florida, all of these places. And I think what's perhaps the most indicative of how hockey is going in these markets is look at guys' lists where they wanted to go, like Matthew Tkachuk. What were the places at the top of his list? Vegas, Dallas, both Florida teams. He wants to be a part of this growing culture. And hey, speaking of Toronto, as fans, Steele, we better be careful with where Austin Matthews wants to make the rest of his impact on his career. And I know he's saying all the right things, and we'll talk about this offseason. But you know what I'm saying here. This Stanley Cup Final is huge for growing the game south of the border and very south of the border.
Well, real quick, talking about Austin Matthews, I think that was a good part of the organization as well to bring in Shane Doan. Maybe Shane Doan can talk some sense in Matthews re-sign. I think Austin Matthews wants to re-sign with Toronto.
Tree living, playing chess already.
He's playing chess already. He's doing a decent job so far.
Let's see.
But yeah, Vegas Golden Knights, Florida Panthers, Game 5, keys to success, some X factors for this game.
Yes, sir.
Who are you looking at that needs to be better? Start there.
So I think we've brought it up, and this is one of the things I wanted to say for the listeners out there. Thank you so much for riding with us through these months. It feels like 6 weeks ago I was in Italy. Oh, wait, it was 6 weeks ago. That's already flown by, Steele. Holy crap.
That's crazy.
That is crazy, but also here we go, because what the key is what the key was at the start. They haven't been able to score on the power play for Florida.
Yeah.
That is really crippled them, because Bob has thrown out there another couple of really good performances, and they've been wasted at times because of their inability to capitalize on the power play. That's obvious. And I think also at the end of it all, Steele, Tkachuk has been playing hurt.
Yeah.
And knowing how, again, and we sound like a broken record, but knowing how important he is to this team on and off the ice, how are they going to win tonight? And well, it'll factor into my bets, because I think this is done for Florida with that injury. I just don't see it. I think that building is also going to be absolutely rocking. Florida won't even be able to hear themselves think. Anyway, let me finish it with this, because who needs to be the X factor for me? Again, I'm a broken record. Mr. Mark Stone. And let me hit you with this quote from this morning. I was going to do whatever it took to get back for the playoffs following his back surgery. Mark Stone continues. I wasn't sure if it was going to be game 1, 5, or 10, but I was going to do whatever it took to get back to help this team win. This is a guy, Steele. You and I were very concerned after the second back surgery, right? Has he had 2, maybe 3?
Yeah, 2 and 8 months.
This usually means the end of a career, or at least a huge regression. Mark Stone comes back and takes this team all the way to the Cup Final and is about to hoist that bad boy. So he has another good game, Steele. Tease to the bets. This is going to be the Stanley Cup Final hoisted by the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, and if Florida wants any chance at making sure they can play one more game or even get to a game 7 and potentially swing this back in their direction, one guy I think from the Florida Panthers that needs to step up tremendously is Sam Reinhart. He's been absolutely invisible this entire Stanley Cup
Totally
Final
agree.
so far. He was so important in that comeback against the Boston Bruins. He scored in game 5, he scored in game 6, and he scored again in game 7 in that first round series against the Boston Bruins.
Great point.
He's chipped in throughout every single series so far, against Toronto, against Carolina, but he's done nothing. He has 6 shots in 4 games, and he's playing heavy minutes. Every single game so far, he's played more than 20 minutes a game. 2 of them over 22 minutes and 1 of them at 26 minutes. So Sam Reinhart is one of those guys, and especially like you just said, with Matthew Tkachuk injured right now and the Vegas Golden Knight players knowing that and targeting him, though other players up front in the top 6, like Sam Bennett, like Sam Reinhart, like Barkov, really need to step up their game in progress with Matthew Tkachuk and helping him out, because he's done everything pretty much for Florida alongside with Sergei Bobrovsky.
And you know what, though? I don't want to count out Barkov, because he was also great in both home games.
He's been good.
You know, he stepped it up over games 3 and 4. I think he actually, if I'm picking a Florida X Factor, I told you about what I think on the Vegas side of things. The X Factor for me has got to be him. He's got to be, I don't want to say better, but he has been, first 2, little disappointed. Games 3 and 4, Barkov bounced back in a big way and was productive. He's going to be my X Factor. And at the end of the day, Steele, when it seems to get physical, it seems to play into Vegas's hands. And it's almost like they learned from the Oilers series, because the Oilers started to take it physical and they started to take bad penalties and they let the power play creep in a little bit, and they learned. And also, if they were able to get by the power play of the Edmonton Oilers, no wonder they're giving the power play of the Florida Panthers fits.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And just the penalty kill, the power play, the special teams for Florida has just been brutal so far.
And you won't win a cup when it's like that.
No, you can't win a cup if you go 0 for 14 on the power play. It's almost just impossible.
That's it.
And especially when you're going up against a Vegas team, which is already so good 5-on-5.
Yep.
You just can't beat that.
And experienced.
Florida needs to stay out of the box. They need to play smart, and they need to get their top 6 forward guys going. We're going to get to big time bets. for Game 5 action of the Stanley Cup.
What's up, everybody? David Harrison here of the Locked On Commanders podcast. When life gets crazy, and honestly, when doesn't it? Walmart helps you keep it all together now with a little extra help from Instacart. If you need your groceries now-ish, but your options for going to Walmart are later-ish or never-ish, you can get everything you need delivered through Instacart right to your door in as fast as an hour. Skip the shop and savor more of your crazy busy life with Walmart and Instacart. Visit instacart.com to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply.
The finals, but thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. We appreciate all the love and support you show us every single day on this podcast. And big time bets, Game 5 action. Bets have been hitting out for me recently. I cashed out a UFC parlay when I was at the event over there. You know, quick $50. Not bad, but it's
couple
something.
Couple of lunches
right there for sure. But I'm looking to make some more money for Game 5 action flip. So if you don't mind, I'll just rattle all 3 picks off.
Fire away
for Stanley Cup Finals Game 5 action.
Do we have a same game parlay here, or are you going all individual?
Individual. This one's individual. Individual for sure. First bet though, I'm taking the under 5.5 at plus 100. Love Panthers and Knights. I thought I heard you mumbling the under over there, so I was very happy to hear you say on the same page over there. So I appreciate that. But yeah, under 5.5 at plus 100. I just think the goalies have been absolutely stellar. Yeah. Aiden Hill and Sergei Bobrovsky have been monsters and beasts so far this finals. I like this under at 5.5 and plus 100. I'm also going Vegas money line minus 176. I did say Vegas in 6 games, but it's back home. It's Game 5. They're up 3-1. The crowd's going to be so into it. I just don't see them losing at home. I can't remember correctly, but the last 5 champions or Stanley Cup champions, I don't think it's been at home. I feel like they've won on the road almost.
It feels like it was at least the last couple for sure.
At least the last 3. So
in the bubble for sure.
Of course.
You know, that was away technically.
Yeah. It was away. So yeah, it would be nice to see a team win at home for the first time in a while. So I think Vegas money line minus 176 is the way to go. And you think Mark Stone's going to have a big Game 5? I'm going back to my boy over here. Jack Eichel's going to have a game. Eichel, anytime goal, plus 170. I think, again, if he has a big game, he could be the Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
And you know what, Steele? Let me just start with the Conn Smythe. And actually, before I get to the Conn Smythe, I have a couple of things up here that I had to get out before the end of the episode. How hilarious is it that, first of all, we predicted the Boston Bruins were going to miss the playoffs, and they went all the way to be the best regular season team anyway in history. Playoffs didn't work out. But what had me thinking about this was Cassidy gets let go from the Boston Bruins. We don't think you're a fit. We don't think you can manage this team. So not only were they wrong about the assessment of the team, they were wrong about the assessment of the coach, because here he is in the Stanley Cup Final, poised to lift the bad boy. So that was number 1, a little bit of a funny situation there. And number 2, you mentioned the Conn Smythe. I just want to bring up situations when the Vegas odds makers sometimes are a little bit off. It's very rare. They're off in this situation, Steele. Jonathan Marchessault at minus 600 is a situation where they're trying to dupe a regular average bettor into putting that on a parlay to ruin your bet. The value on Aiden Hill has gone up even more, Steele, plus 1,200. And I just want to throw it this way. He shuts out the Florida Panthers in Game 5. And Marchessault has no points. You're making money because he will win that trophy if that's the situation. And it's not a long shot situation for that to happen as well. Because even if he stands on his head and allows 1 or 2 goals and Marchessault gets nothing, but they get the win, at plus 1,200, I'm telling you, the NHL will give that trophy to Aiden Hill. So I just wanted to throw that out there. What do you think about that before I ream off my bets?
I completely agree. See, there's a lot of names out there that could easily win the Conn Smythe. And if Jonathan Marchessault, if Jonathan Marchessault is at minus 600 right now, I'm staying away from that because there's no money to be made.
Exactly.
Eichel, I don't know what Eichel's at right now, but it's probably plus something.
2,200.
Plus 2,200 for Jack Eichel, and Aiden Hill at plus 1,200 are the way to go. Even again, Mark Stone at what?
Plus 3,000.
Plus 3,000. Yeah, those 3 guys I would rather put $20 on than Jonathan Marchessault right now. Even though Jonathan Marchessault probably is the leader for the Conn Smythe, At minus 600, there is no money to be made.
$10 on Mark Stone pays 300. $10 on Aiden Hill pays 130. I don't know why you would even consider Jonathan Marchessault, and I understand the scoring, but listen to us, guys. Trust me. Run the tape back on Conn Smythe Trophy winners. Are there sometimes the obvious winners? Yes, but there's curveballs, and it's not all about how many points you get. If Aiden Hill steals them this game, he's going to be the darling, and the NHL will give him that Conn Smythe. It's just a great story. Anyway, not like Jonathan Marchessault is not. There's not much to my bet breakdown, Steele, because I burned all of our minutes there rambling off at the mouth a little bit. Once again, happy birthday to the boy. Hashtag Gemini season continues. Make sure you have yourself a good one out there, brother. And I think your bets are going to hit for that birthday love. And if there's any indication that it will, I am on the same exact page. Under 5.5 at plus 100. Vegas on the money line is my lock of the night. Minus 176. I'm actually going to do something I've never done because I'm feeling these so much, Steele. I'm going to bet them all 3 individual to make my money, and I'm going to throw them in a same-game parlay as well because my final pick, you're getting plus 110 for Mark Stone anytime assist. Ooh. This man is going to bag an assist at least. Trust me when I say this, he is not going to let this opportunity slip, and Vegas will treat this game like a must-win. They don't want Florida back in this series. They don't want Bobrovsky or Tkachuk getting any more rest. They're going to get them while they're down. Vegas, money line, 176, lock of the night, along with the under 5.5 and a Mark Stone anytime assist. I'm really feeling these bets, Steele, and that's the season, baby.
That is the season. Vegas on the cusp of winning their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Can Florida crawl back into this series? We'll see after tonight, Tuesday, for Game 5 action. Those are the bets. Vegas money line, minus 176, lock of the night for both Flip and I. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is when you can catch all of our episodes. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com, code LOCKEDON. That's JamesAllen.com, code LOCKEDON.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.